internet makes distance relationships more intimate, but as far as relationships with close friends that live locally or between boyfriend and girlfriend, I don't think that it does much to help or hurt the intimacy of that relationship. It really has an advantage over older generations because it is easier to keep in contact with people that you don't see as often, even though the contact that you have with them via the internet is not as intimate as like a face-to-face conversation.
The term intimacy has been redefined by the internet. It's now just becoming the norm where, like, back in the day, people would write letters and that would be intimate to receive a letter from a loved one.
The internet in some ways can create intimacy through like video chatting and stuff, especially with long distance relationships, because it's like the only chance you have to like talk to the person semi face to face. Like, you know, they have those commercials on TV and like the dad's out of town or whatever and the kids like will video chat and stuff, and it's really cute, and it's like they're there when they can't be. I'll talk about like eHarmony and like meeting people online. I think parts of it are good because you can get to know a person before you really know like if you're like sexually attracted to them or whatever. So like you can figure out what's like most important, and like if you can build a relationship on like who the person is first without having like to deal with whether or not you think they're attractive, like that could really like build a strong relationship. Overall, the internet like really can build intimacy if it's used correctly, like, but if it's overused or like used for porn and stuff, it definitely can create isolation in a personal relationship.
Relationships are supposed to be like face to face and have that contact, and that's where the intimacy should come from, is being in person and not over the internet.
I do think there are things that will help, like, because now you can go online, and if you are having trouble with your relationship, it can help you find, like, there's many different times when you go on like blogging sites and people will have answers for you if you have questions to your relationship or whatever. So there are a lot of tools. You can find therapists and stuff like that online.
Okay, I personally think that internet creates both intimacy and isolation. I think it's really different from the older generations because they wrote, I don't know what they did, they probably wrote letters or they talked on the phone or they just met downtown somewhere, and actually the relationship is really closer to a person if you meet them face to face, because it's often that like a lot of people, they, for example, if they talk to a girl over the internet, they act like if they are something or they pretend to be somebody that they are not, because it's way easier to write stuff than to actually say it face to face. A lot of people are extremely shy, and over the internet they seem as if they're like those big players, and they actually are not. I think Skype is actually pretty good because you can just call for free basically, and if you have a webcam you can see the person face to face, and it helps me especially if I keep up with friends from Germany or just other parts of the world.
When I was a student here, the way to have any kind of social interaction was to get out and get involved in organizations or go to sporting events or hang out in the UC. And now with the internet having all these tools available like MySpace and Facebook and online sites where you can meet people or chat, I think I see more students staying inside their rooms. I met my husband on the internet. I met him on an online site for Catholics, to meet other Catholics. And I think that both of us probably shared a lot more with each other early on in email letters to each other than we might have had we gone out on regular dates with each other and been nervous.
It can create isolation. It can allow a person an excuse to feel as though they've been befriended by 500 people when they have in fact not a friend in the world. On the other hand, it can be an opportunity to reach out to people that you wouldn't normally. Obviously, I think in some ways people feel free to expose themselves online in an electronic format in ways that they normally wouldn't feel comfortable. When a person, for example, makes confessions online to somebody they don't really know or don't know face to face, does that count as a real confession or not? Or is it sort of like confessing to yourself in a closet the internet gives extremists a new opportunity to interact with each other in ways they haven't had before. So you can find, for example, communities of people who believe that they are being violated by the government by mind control technology. And there's in fact a whole website now devoted to these people who, all over the country independently are crazy, I think, and support each other in their craziness and make that craziness worse, and therefore further isolate themselves because they're able to more and more convince themselves that this is reality, and thus they end up taking themselves out of the mainstream by having discovered each other on the internet. And in some ways, I think people do open up faster electronically in ways that are, it's the same thing, it's both. It's dangerous, it can be highly dangerous to open yourself up so fast to somebody because you feel like, because you're imagining a person on the other side of that computer, a person who, in your fantasy world, is so accepting and thinks you're so wonderful, and you've constructed this character, this perfect mate for yourself, so you end up coughing up all this stuff and being intimate much more quickly than you would normally. You'd be more self-protective. That can be wonderful, I think, and lead to a real relationship. On the other hand, it can be, I think, dangerous. It can be, a person can get burned by it. I met my wife online, and she teaches here at UTC in the art department, and we had been teaching for several years in buildings that are perpendicular to each other, and we would not have met so quickly, and perhaps very likely not at all, if it hadn't been for Match.com. Some people were interested in having a long-term electronic relationship because of real intimacy they feared.